Camera one of these times. Hello! Oh, that's weird. Ahoy there, YouTube. I'm back again today for more of our Gencon Bonanza Explosion blog coverage. Here live at Gencon 2018. Thanks in part to all of our amazing Kickstarter backers. These spectacular companies right here who donated games to help send us to Gencon, including Greenbrier Games, who we're about to talk to right now, and our main sponsors, Tasty Minstrel Games and Minion Games. Throw some love right now at them. Right now, we are at the Greenbrier Games booth. We're about to talk to Walter about his new baby. He's one of the designers of it. Fire for Light. So hey Walter, what is Fire for Light?
It's wonderful to be here with you, Forrest. Thanks for having me. This is a first look at an alpha version of Fire for Light, which is coming to Kickstarter in February. It's our next big project. Fire for Light is a tabletop digital hybrid game. It's our first foray into this new world, and we're really excited about it. 95% of the game is physical components on the table. The only thing the app does is hold a huge branching, changing story, evolving story path. So
nice.
Basically, as you're moving around this world, you're going to find certain locations that have a little code on them. So as you're flipping out these tiles, you might see these points of interest have little codes like BO2 on this one. Type BO2 into the app, it's going to pull up, you're at the trading post or what have you, and it's going to have a whole list of options, a little bit of story. The app is going to remember where you've been and what choices you've made when you got there, because later on in the story, things are going to change and flow differently based on what you've done. Even as simple as returning to the same place again, you might learn different things about what you found there and things like that. So it is a huge, robust story.
Yeah.
If I were to do this physically, it would be a 200 or 300 page book with Bible fonts. So this is a whole new thing for us. We're really excited about it. We're partnering with an awesome company who I can't quite say yet, but we'll announce soon, who's going to do the digital app for it. It's really exciting. Basically, the story is all about these two sisters who live in a small shanty tent village named Summer's End. It's just this little town in the middle of a frozen wasteland. So it's been snowing for 100 years. We're in the middle of a nuclear winter. No one knows why. The origins of this has been lost. These two sisters travel out into the world trying to find the origins of these snows, and as they do, they start uncovering darker and weirder things, and it turns out there's this whole sort of curse on the world that they are uncovering. And it's a small story about these two sisters in a huge, huge world. And it means a lot to me that we have two strong female characters, though. There are also, at more player counts, you play with the town's mechanic Jasper and his broken a little busted robot here, Uop. So again, everything very alpha components.
Jasper's got them crazy eyes.
Oh yeah, he's got them crazy eyes for sure, man. So primary mechanic in the game is a very simple dice puzzle system. You start the turn by rolling a handful of dice, then you're going to spend them. You allocate your dice to perform certain functions, whether that's attacking with an ability, a weapon, moving around the board, collecting resources as you go. So the amount of dice you spend is based on your party spirit, which slowly is going to tick down while you're out there in the cold, until eventually you start freezing to death. You're going to be losing your warmth. The only way to get it back is to light these campfires. So you have to be gathering wood to make these campfires, which will allow you to eat some food to gain health back. It's going to refill your spirit. It's going to help your warmth grow up. But it also might attract unwelcome company. So each campfire is a little semi-random story moment. But even those, the app will remember what you've had. So characters will return. They'll find you again in the wilderness, and they might have different things to tell you, different things to unlock about the world as you go. So even that element too will build and evolve with the players in their campaign as they're doing it. Monsters have a very simple flowchart AI where there's just these if-then statements. So they have 3 simple abilities, and when it's their turn to activate, if that monster's on the board, you just go down the list, activate its movement, activate its attack, and only if they meet the if-then requirement type thing. So very, very simple. The minis have numbers on the bases. So when they're out in the world here, that's skeleton number 4, roving skelly over here. Let's say I deal 3 damage to skeleton number 4. I place it physically on a row there so I know which skeleton I've dealt damage to. The player who does the most damage gets a higher reward than the other players, and there's some group rewards and things like that. One mechanic I'm very, very excited about: when you are knocked unconscious, when you lose your health in the game, you're going to get revived by your teammates, but you hear a horrible voice in your head. This voice is telling you terrible, strange things. So you see the cute art in the game is a bit of a trap, but this voice is giving you this lich in your mind is giving you a debuff. Your stats will be a little bit worse, and it tells you the only way to get rid of this curse is to do something terrible to your team. So each card you get that has this debuff has a secret that you can't tell your partners, your teammates about, that you have to do in order to get rid of it. And it might be throwing away food, kicking out a campfire. You might have to stab a friend. Sometimes you might end up using the card to heal a monster. You have to do these things that are not in the interest of the group in order to keep yourself alive. So it's this cute world. These sisters are laughing, they make a lot of jokes. It's got sort of a Adventure Time-y colloquialism to it, but underneath that, man, it's gonna get dark as we go. One of the big tenets for this project, what's really important to me, is that the game is easy to set up. So that's why we're focusing on components like these wheels, and we're gonna have a little tray that holds all the tokens that sits out on the board. Just pull it right out of the box. So we're trying to make it easy to jump into a game, and that's part of why we have the app too, is that you don't have to have a lot to manage in order to get right into it. Likewise, we're gonna keep the price point as low as we can because we want this to be a low barrier of entry for people. One last thing, and then I'll shut up about it.
Oh yeah.
The way weapons work is kind of like, you guys know Breath of the Wild out there. I bet you do.
Yeah.
And in this, your weapons degrade as you use them, just like in Fire for Light. They get a little bit worse and worse as they go, and then eventually they break until you have to recraft them again. And crafting is a big element in the game while you're collecting these resources out there. And the game starts very low magic, and then as you sort of uncover these things, you're gonna get high fantasy things coming into the game. Fire for Light, Kickstarter, end of February of this coming year. We're going to be putting out a lot of content to engage with people soon, so keep an eye out for Fire for Light. We're really, really excited about it. Putting a lot of eggs in this basket, man. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah, I actually was interested in designing a game like this because I've always wanted a game where it's like, like you might come back and things have changed and it's like that. And I wrote like 2 pages of it and I was like, dear God, this is being like impossible. So this looks freaking awesome.
I'm not going to be doing anything else for the next 4 or 5 months. I'm going to be a full-on cave boy writing this story, so it's a big one for us. Yeah. So we're going to do minis separate from the box. So we'll do the 4 character minis in the box, monsters and standees, extra minis, and all the bosses and stuff will be minis in a separate box, so we can keep that main price point low, so we can get as many people trying this as possible. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Fire for Light coming to Kickstarter next year. Be sure to check that one out. If you're enjoying the Gen Con coverage, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below. In the comments below, let me know what's your side of choice. You're getting a meal. What's your side? What side do you want? You can pick anything.
Woo! We're getting some curly fries, baby.
I'm in the same boat. I'm going potato wedges. I love potato wedges.
A variant of the curly fry, an inferior variant.
I would argue that the curly fries are variants of the potato wedges, but let me know in the comments below that question and your answer. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.